Well, hello and welcome to another DCOA tutorial. Drake Council on Aging and the Cultural Council in Drake and the Friends of the Drake Elderly have been bringing you these tutorials all through the pandemic. Amazing group of people. And I'm looking, my hair doesn't really look this well, maybe it does look this bad in person. I don't know. But this is today's tutorial and we're going to use art clothes. Always wear your art clothes. I'm fixated here at this hair. Let's do this. Should have looked in the mirror first. But that's sort of better. Okay, so this, we can put it on a canvas. You should have a canvas in your art pack that you picked up from the Drake Council of Aging, which is operating out of the Drake Public Library, 10 Arlington Street. I know that because I was just there the other day, and they are doing an awesome job staying on the ball, regardless of whatever problems they're having with the center, because they're still upgrading, still fixing, doing all that good stuff. And the repairs and whatnot are more extensive than they realized. Okay, so anyway, let's get back to work here. You will need you will need a palette. Okay, I am using plastic coated plates. You can use plastic coated plates. You can use actual palette paper, which is this kind of paper that's been treated with a wax covering. You could use a real palette, which is usually plastic or wood. I find the easiest thing to do is use paper plates, because then when I'm done, I just throw them away. I don't have to clean anything up. So you will need a canvas. Okay, this canvas was donated by a previous student. She said, I'm not going to use this canvas anymore. Would you like to have it? And I said, absolutely, because what I do with those canvases that no one wants anymore, I repurpose them. That is to say, I paint over them, usually with gesso and white paint. Right? So doing that actually is just this, just taking some white paint or acrylic and painting right over the canvas. Right? So that makes the canvas reusable for me. And you can use a repurposed canvas if you have a picture that's been hanging around for a while and you're not that crazy about it. You think, all right, this has just been sitting around here for a while. Maybe I don't mind repurposing the canvas. This is a good opportunity to get your money's worth out of your canvases. All right, the other thing, so you're going to need a canvas. And like I said, if you have DCOA art supply packages, and I urge you, if you don't already have them, to go ahead and pick them up. They have only 50. So basically, really, it's first come, first serve. And if you don't have a DCOA package, but you're using your own supplies, you have your own supplies, you've been painting along with us forever and ever, and you can use your own paints, that's fine too. And you know that you can paint on any size canvas. You can paint on wood. You can paint on a stretched canvas. This is a stretched canvas. Look at the back of this one. It's canvas stretched and wrapped around a wood frame. A canvas panel is canvas paper that's been glued onto a cardboard panel, if you will. So that's the name canvas panel. So, and any size, all right, this is what I call a vertical picture. Okay, it means it goes up and down. Horizontal would be side to side. And because it's a vertical picture, I'm going to hold this canvas vertically. Okay, um, let me finish here. And I also, when I do these, I also do the edges. Okay, whether I'm repurposing or not, I actually do all of the edges. only because if you go ahead and paint your edges, then you have the option of framing, or just if you love it just the way it is, or you just don't want to frame them, you absolutely do not have to. Okay, so I'm going to turn this around. So, so one of the things that you will need is something to paint on, a canvas, and it can be any size canvas. And they do have canvases and canvas boards that are square. This is a rectangular canvas, which means, you know, it's longer on one side than the other. And I would use a rectangular canvas as opposed to a perfectly square canvas, only because, like I said, the subject matter goes up and down. So a rectangular canvas would be the logical choice. The truth is that you can paint on anything your heart desires. Now we're using acrylic paints as always. Acrylic paints are a little bit easier for beginner students, and we use them for our fun and paints, which I'm hoping will bring back. We are starting December 3rd. We will be doing art classes again at the it's a church, and it's right near yeah, the public library. I will get the address for you. But if you obviously need to know, you can always call the center too. They have all the information that you need plus more. Okay, so we're going to resume actual classes there until the center reopens, and I'm going to see if we can resume fun and paints there too, because those were a blast. Okay, so hopefully we get to do some of that as well. So for this project, you will need this picture. If you don't have a DCOA pack, because they come in the pack, if you don't have one, pull up the newsletter on the website, DCOA website. It'll be there. And I think if you actually get a physical newsletter, if you're not technically inclined, and there's a picture in there too. So it's a good idea to have a picture, because as I'm working, I constantly am kind of looking at it. All right. So besides a palette, you will need brushes. You will need, and I actually have one in the water here. Let me clean it. Okay. And repurposing this, I would actually give it 2 coats. I would let it dry first and then give it another coat. Because I'm going to use it for this demo, maybe I'll just try one, see what happens. But typically I do a coat. If I don't have gesso, then just white paint. But you can always repurpose. So for brushes, you always need small, medium, and large brushes. Paints. Paints, I always have white and or black nearby, only because if you want to lighten a color, you can, you know, lighten it with some white, certainly, or with black you can darken. But those are only 2 of the ways to go ahead and do that. You can do it with browns and grays, and sometimes you can add. We have some purple grapes in here, so we're going to mix red and blue to make purple. And even if you have purple paint, sometimes it's nice to mix your own colors so that you're getting exactly the shade that you want, right? So the colors that I took out of my palette are yellow, and I was looking at this, choosing my colors, yellow, green. This is kind of a yellow ochre, and if you don't have that in your pack, you probably won't. It's just yellow and brown. Again, it's a kind of a straw color, kind of like this in through here. All right, this is brown, so you'll need some brown. I did take out this vermilion, and I maybe add a little yellow to it to get a nice orange color. Okay, and this is orange. And then I have a brilliant red and an ultramarine. Okay, brilliant red and an ultramarine. And I actually, different companies make different reds. Okay, this is by the company Basic. And actually, it's a little bit redder than it looks on camera. So for your apple, if you want a nice red color for that. Okay, nice brilliant red would look good there. I want to change up the background a little bit, okay? And I actually think I like it better without the butterfly. You can certainly put the butterfly in if you want. They're just triangle shapes connected to a midline. So that would be okay. Or if we did put the butterfly in, I think I would change the colors a little bit when we do these projects, are kind of searching online for basic shapes. And this is a busy picture, as you can tell, but the shapes are very basic. All right, these are basically circles in through here, cylinders, um, ovals, and even the big opening here is just a circle. Okay, so it does take some drawing, so get yourself a drawing pencil as well, because after our background dries here, we're going to draw on it. We're going to give ourselves some guidelines. Okay, so let me see. Do we need anything else? Oh, of course, you need lots of water. Okay, water to clean your brushes. And typically, I only use one container of water, but when I'm doing the tutorials, rather than take out the time to clean the brushes, I actually have 3 bowls out. So this first bowl gets the first kind of rinse, and the second bowl, and then third bowl actually, no more paint comes out of the brush, and it just makes it so I don't have to denote so much time or put so much time into actually cleaning the brushes. But you at home, make sure your brushes are clean. Don't let the paint dry inside your brushes. It will definitely ruin them. Acrylic paints are uh, they once they dry, they're permanent. Okay, so if you get some on your clothes or you get some on your table or on your floor, if you catch it while it's wet, it's water based, so a little soap and water should take it off. However, when you're painting, you very rarely notice that you've gotten little spots here and there. So cover tables, cover the floor, cover anything that you don't want to get paint on. We're working in my home studio and there's actually already paint on of everything. So I don't necessarily have to cover things, but I know you can see the table here. Okay, the table back here has all paint on it because I have students here as well as myself. I have young students here. And one time, as I was yapping away at her, I saw her. She was actually painting on the table. And I said, "What are you doing?" She goes, "There's already paint on it, Auntie Joni." Related. Auntie Joni, I thought I would paint on it too. I said, "Oh," I said, "how wonderful." So this table has a lot of paint on it, so I really didn't mind. So anyway, we have our paints, we have our brushes, we have our palette. The other thing you will need is paper towels. Keep them close by to you because you will need them as well. Okay, white, and you don't need this big jug of white paint. I do because I do a lot of painting and I use a lot of white, not only for repurposing, but for the paints, for highlights, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, some black, just in case you need it. So I do white and black just in case I need it. All right, so I think what we'll do is I'm going to give another coat of paint on my background. I'm going to let that dry for a few minutes, and then we're going to go ahead and create a masterpiece. You are the creator. So, like I said, I'm going to change up the background a little bit and maybe kind of get rid of that butterfly because he kind of, everything else looks kind of cool. He looks kind of like he doesn't belong there to me anyway. But you can put him there. You could put something else there if you wanted to. Background, I thought I would do some browns and oranges, maybe some reds. Okay, so again, change it up a little bit. All right, so get your canvas, get your supplies together. My canvas is on an easel. You don't need to have your canvas on an easel. I have my canvas on an easel just so that you can see it a little bit easier on the on the taping here, the filming. But you don't need an easel certainly to paint. You certainly can use an easel if you want to. Some students just have a stack of books and rest them on the books so that they're kind of seeing them not like flat on the table. But whatever is comfortable for you. Your hand, everything else has to remain in its comfort zone. Okay, so if you don't already have your hot cocoa, go ahead and make it, and I will be right back. Okay, so let's try a little bit of something fun here. I'm going to show us this canvas here. Let me see if I can get myself out of the way. And I thought, like I said, we would change the background just a tad. So I'm actually going to, and this is really fun way to do this. I'm going to take out my yellow and just put like a dot of yellow up here on my canvas. Maybe a couple of dots of yellow. And then I'm going to do kind of the same thing here with my orange. Okay, some orange dots there. And I'll tell you, this is a really fun way to do things. And I'm going to take the green and put some green dots a little bit closer to the bottom. Yeah. Now, green is a pretty strong color, but they're all pretty strong here. I'm going to take my large brush, if I can find it, and I'm going to start with this top and just start putting some, just spreading out the yellow here. Okay, and again, doing, let's stand up so I can reach it here. So I'm going to take this yellow. It's a pretty bright yellow, maybe a little bit brighter than I wanted, but that's okay. Let's put it on there and see what happens. Right, because now I'm going to bring in my oranges. Going to kind of merge it in a little bit with my yellow in here. And get a little bit of water on my brush just to kind of spread this out a bit more. Okay. Now this is kind of getting into my yellow a little bit, kind of liking that. Okay. So, and then I'm going to actually take my green and kind of spread it all over the canvas. Now, when you mix green and orange together, or even green and red together, you end up with brown. Right? So I want to have kind of greenish up here, but as it comes down here, I'm going to actually let it merge with the brown. As a matter of fact, I may put some more orange at the bottom. Let's bring this up a little bit. Going to bring some of the green up here and down the sides. This is almost too much fun. Okay, so let's give us a little bit more orange on the bottom. Okay, because again, the bottom, I want it to kind of look brownish or greenish brownish in this case, because we want to have our pumpkin and veggies and whatnot to be sitting on something, to have some ground. And as I come up here, I'm blending into my green and then up into my orange. Okay, toning down the orange just a little bit. And all the way up into my yellow. Doing some of my edge work here. Okay, so kind of like everything except the yellow, I think. I like this down here. I like the whole merge thing going on down here. And I like how it's merged up here like this. Then we get into this part, and I'm not, okay, so I think I'll do a little bit more yellow over here. Okay, because I was thinking that it was going to be too bright, but I think with the green in there, it actually may be too dark. So let's bring in a little bit more yellow here. Okay, so this is a really fun way to do the background. Okay, and let me show you what the difference is. Okay, this is a really kind of washed out background, and I think I like things a little bit more vivid. Okay, so I'm going to do this over here. Get a little bit, strengthen this out. Just smooth this out just a little bit more here. Okay, get a little bit of this yellow over on the sides. Beauty, beauty, beauteous. Okay, and when we add the yellow to a little bit of orange we have going on here, it actually is quite beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit more of that orange, which was kind of splurted out on there. And again, this is a way more vivid background than what's on your handout. And by all means, you don't have to do this. You could just do a very light total background by just some white and mix a little bit of blue in there if you wanted to, and do the whole background one color. But I say, let's have a blast. Let's have some fun. Ta-da! Okay, so we're going to give this a few minutes, and I don't know if you can see this in real life. It's quite bright. Can you see that okay? So we added dots to our canvas, yellow, orange, and green dots, and then just kind of merged them all together. We added a little bit more, kind of here and there. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom here. Okay, let's put this here for now. Go ahead and do the bottom, and give this a few minutes to dry. If you have a hair dryer and you can put the hair dryer on cool, you can use a hair dryer to help it dry a little faster. I actually use a fan that I have here in the art room. Okay, I saw a little hair in there. I just kind of taken that out. At least I thought I was. All right, so let's give this a few minutes to dry, and then we're going to use a pencil to go ahead and put in some guidelines here for our fruits and our veggies. Okay, so after this has dried a bit enough so that you can use a pencil on it, we're going to draw some guidelines. Okay, and I'm going to look here for my guidelines. All right, this opening for the Horn of Plenty is the top of it is about a third of the way down. So I'm going to put it like right about here. Now, if you need to practice this a couple of times on paper, go ahead and do that. But I'm going to put here, and then the top of this horn comes close to the center. So if this is my center, the horn is going to be right about here, comes around here, and then at the end of my horn comes around there, and my pumpkin, top of my pumpkin is just below halfway, comes all the way to the edge of my picture and pretty close to the bottom here. Now I understand that you can not see the pencil marks that I have made here. So I'm actually going to just take some white paint and put white paint on it where my lines are. However, you do it in pencil so that you can see where guidelines are. And I didn't put anything else on, just the horn and the pumpkin, because I think that, whoops, I think that we can kind of figure out where all the rest is once we get that part on, because they're kind of the two largest items in the painting. Okay, so this is not the easiest way for me to draw. However, I can do it, no worries. All right, so here's the opening to the horn. Okay, that's this, right? And my pumpkin is gonna come right about here. Okay, so my goal is to get you to see where to put your guidelines. I'm going to support this hand like this. And again, this comes almost all the way over to the edge. And actually, let's make it a little bit fatter and down here. Okay, so there is that. I'm actually mixing a little bit of water in my white so you can see it. And maybe I have to stand for this part, but hopefully I won't get in your way. So we have the first two circles here. This part of the horn right here, again, it's about midway. So I'm going to say about here, right? So that means this little guy is coming up around here, all the way around, and coming down here and all the way to our horn. Okay, so like I said, if you need to, just take a piece of paper and practice a little bit, because basically just two circles. Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and make this little dippy thing going on here. Okay, and then this part of the horn connected here. Okay, so now we have a horn of plenty. Okay, let me maybe make this a teensy bit darker. I can see it really good here, but you may not be able to. Okay, so that's what I have, right? And it's always interesting to see how a picture starts. I'm actually going to do the inner ring. See this part of the horn? I'm going to make some guidelines for where that's going to go. And I'm actually just picking a thickness that I like and putting it on here. And then at some point, we're going to actually put in sections, okay, which let's just put in our guidelines here. And we'll probably rework them a couple of times, but it's a good idea to actually get them in there. Again, just giving yourself an idea of where they're going to go, because you are starting with a blank canvas, which is very awesome. This almost has like a candy cane effect here. And the same thing is actually going to happen here. Okay, and I'm going to turn this around just a little bit. Okay, so can you see what's starting to go on there? I'm actually, again, you do this with pencil. I'm doing this with white paint so that you can see it. Okay, so I'm going to come around here and following my edge down a little bit. Come around here. Okay, and as I come along this side, I am lengthening my strokes. There we go. And if you don't want to put these in, you do not have to because you are the creator. So if you don't want them in there, don't put them in there. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing to my pumpkin. Now I'm going to go just a little bit below the top of this pumpkin. Okay, so I'm not putting the stem right at the very top of the pumpkin, going just a teensy bit below my pumpkin. Okay. And actually, let's move it a little bit to over here. So I think I'll make my pumpkin a little fatter. Ta-da! And move my stem over here a little bit. Okay, and the stem, okay, just make a little bit of an oval at the top. See that little oval? See a little oval at the top. And then I'm going to go ahead and connect it to my stem. Okay, basic drawing 101. And again, if you're not comfortable with basic drawing 101, get a piece of scrap paper and just practice a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to make some little kind of ridges back there. This is all going to be filled in with dark. And maybe even, that guy could maybe even be a little bit thicker. It's kind of a big pumpkin to have such a wimpy stem, don't you think? Okay, so that's better. You don't want a wimpy pumpkin. Okay, now to do these areas, you just following your pumpkin down and go from side to side and then kind of one in the middle. Okay, once you get the sides and the middle done, the rest is pretty easy. Ta-da! Pumpkin dough. Okay, and then we'll perfect the shape a little bit as we go along because this pumpkin is going to look beauteous. Okay, let's maybe take this over here. So we'll work on that. We'll figure out what's going on there. So the other thing that we can do here is there is some wheat here. You can give yourself a little bit of a guideline as far as where that wheat is going. And we have three, it looks like three stalks here, and one is going right off the side. The other one's going up here and a little straighter than that. But like I said, drawing from this position is my only excuse. And this one is actually right kind of in front of here. Okay, so I'm going to put my wheat stalk there. Right. Let's go ahead and do some of the color work because I think we don't have to necessarily put in all of the line work for these. Okay, let's go ahead and actually do some of the color work, which I think is kind of exciting here. So we want Okay, the inside of this is kind of an is the same color as the Horn of Plenty itself. But basically, I don't like the leaves, like empty space inside. So what I would do is make the leaves bigger and cover this, same thing here with grapes and whatnot. So let's go ahead and actually improve. Of course, we want to improve the picture. All right, so for the color of this, we're looking for kind of a straw color. If you, in fact, have, you can mix yellow. All right, we're going to mix yellow, and I'm going to get a different palette to mix my yellow. I'm going to put quite a bit of yellow, and even though I may not use it all, um, this is a pretty big area. And I'm also going to take some of my brown. And again, it doesn't really matter what color brown you have. Let me see if I can find the brown. Okay, you behind here. There you are, there you are. Okay, so here's some brown. This is not a dark brown. It's called a burnt sienna. Whenever anything has the word burnt inside on it, in it, it means that it has a little bit of a warmer color like orange or yellow in it, thus the burnt part. Okay, so I'm going to take a medium brush. I think medium brush, pretty dirty, dirty, dirty. Then, okay, so I have a medium brush. I'm going to go ahead and put some white out as well, because look at the highlights that are going on in there. So let's get a little white out on our dish. Oh, I have a little white out already on this one. I'm going to put a little bit more. My tendency, unless I'm mixing a color, I totally want to make sure I have enough of a mixed color out because I don't want to run out and then have to stop mid-picture and then try to match the color. So I'm more likely to probably mix a little bit more than I need. White is not pre-mixed, so I'm just going to put just a tad out there. Okay, so for the inside here, I'm going to take some of the brown and mix it into my yellow. Okay, there, making that just a teensy bit darker in here. And if you have a darker brown, that's probably even better, but it darkens sooner. Okay, now I'm going to take this and just put it right inside my cone, my horn of plenty. Right, there we go. Okay, so this is, we want to get this in. You know, I know my guidelines are a little bit sketchy, and they have a I have a tendency to be sketchy anyway, or at least my art work does. Um, but this inside here, we want to get it nice and smooth. Okay. And most of this, like I said, it's all going to kind of be covered. We don't want to actually see any leftover spaces once we get our fruit in there, but we do see, you know, the shadow under here, which I'm going to put in. So after I get this on, I'm not going to, like I said, I want it to be neat around the edges because we're going to see the edges. Not going to worry so much about the inside because it's going to pretty much be covered. However, that I want to take this darker brown and go right around this edge. Okay, can you see that creating a shadow in there? And that could actually be even a little bit darker. I'm going to take, now I could look for a darker brown. So if you have a darker brown, go ahead and use it. And here is a burnt umber. Umber is a little bit darker still. This paint is extremely thick. Here, hold that thought. If in fact I am going too fast because you're still working on the outline, that's quite all right. And like I said, if you need to, and I always advise if you need to, actually stop the recording and catch up and take your time. Don't rush. Now, the other part, actually, I'm going to squeeze this out of here. The other part of that statement is if I am moving too slowly for you, and you'll be amazed at how often people say that to me, especially in fun and paint situations, because there's typically a number of people there, and by the time I kind of walk around and help everyone, some people are ready to move on to the next phase, but don't wait for me, because if in fact you decide that, oh yeah, okay, I can do that, and then you don't like it, then you kind of have to go back and fix it. Okay, I am totally not getting what I want out of here. All right, so I'm struggling with some paint. Yeah, this is kind of why I didn't take it out in the first place. Because it's a relatively older tube of paint. So you actually dry it out a little bit. So it might be time to actually retire that altogether. So I have this tiny bit of dark brown that I actually got out of that tube. Okay, and I'm mixing it with some of the yellow and brown that I mixed here. But my goal is to actually get a darker type of brown that I can just put around here, just because I want to create a shadow. Okay, now that is a little bit better and what I was looking for. Okay, right, so that paint really needs to be retired. All right, so now we can see a shadow. Okay, and again, let's keep our source document nearby. And I'm going to just kind of blend in that shadow a little bit. But I want the darker there. And I'm going to be better just adding some black in there. We'll see. Okay, so that gives me a little bit of shadow. I'm going to take a little bit of black after all. And see if I can't go a teensy bit darker. Okay. Let's close up this black. Okay, so I have a teensy, I have palettes all over the place. Okay, I'm going to take a teensy bit of this black and run it around here. Success. Finally, success. Okay. All right. And like I said, let's not worry too much about what's going on over here. Oh, yay. All right. So, it's finally coming to life. All right. So now let's go ahead and work on this part of our Horn of Plenty. So I'm going to take this yellow with a little bit of brown in it. Okay, and I'm going to just, and I mean, If you cover your lines, that's okay. They're just guidelines. I actually can see through mine. So if you can see through yours, fine. If you can't, worry not. Worry not about it. Okay. So this is very cool. And I still have my shadowed area here, right? So this actually, I'm going to add just a teensy bit of orange to this. Okay. Let's take a little bit of orange because I think orange or red. Well, let's go ahead with the orange. Okay, so I'm putting a little bit of orange out on my palette because I would like to give this a teensy bit of a kind of golden hue. So just dipping the brush a little bit and just go ahead and add just a little bit of orange in there, especially around the parts where we're really gonna see. Oh, okay, I still have black on my brush. Good reason to clean your brushes. Let's clean this baby. And look, see, I thought I just had a drop of black on there, but you will consistently surprise yourself. So, so we're painting on this decorative piece of the horn. Okay, and always a good idea to kind of step back a little bit and take a look at it to make sure we're getting what we want. Also, there's a little bit of a highlights there. So I'm going to go ahead and dip just the tip of my brush in the white and kind of through the middle here. Okay, I'm going to put some white because we definitely want a highlight here, right? Whenever something is kind of tubular or cylindrical, okay? Because even though this is kind of bent like this, it certainly is meant to be cylindrical, okay, right through here. So now I have some highlights going on here, which is extremely cool, okay? Let's pull some of it up here. Right, and I'm just kind of going with the idea that this is we're going to put some darker in here. So I'm just kind of following the direction of these, which is just this, right? But it looks kind of awesome that way. All right, so let's not do too much more there. Let's do this next row, these next rows in here. And before we put the dark in, let's just put this color work in. All right, so we're dipping in a brownish yellowy color because we want this to kind of look like straw. We're looking for a straw color in here. All right. Again, if I'm going too fast, stop the recording, catch up. If I'm going too slow, please wait for me. Don't go on ahead of me, please. Okay, so now we're getting some awesomely good color going on here. Very cool. And there's still a teensy bit of white on my brush, so actually getting a little bit of highlight, or I was. Now the white's kind of gone. So maybe I'll dip in that white. There we go. I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay, let's go all the way. Okay, and see how my brush is twirling around here? Okay, I'm not just going and filling in space. I am actually going in the direction that the Horn of Plenty is moving in. Ta-da! God, is that good? That is so satisfying to look at. All right, so now let's finish this top. I'm going to use the tip of my brush to do this little piece in here. Ta-da! Okay, gonna dip into my yellow once again, right? And give myself a little bit more color where I think I want it or need it, which is up here, because I think I still had quite a bit of white on my brush, which is okay. All right, so that's a wonderful thing. Okay, adding a little bit more color to the decorative part of the horn. Okay, and once again, moving my brush in the direction that I want those strokes to go. Okay, so let's get some decent coverage here. There. Even, even if you make one thing about nature, it's actually just very forgiving, which is kind of cool. So I got a little bit outside of where I wanted to go, so I just made it a little bit bigger. All right, so now I'm thinking, let's add again a little bit of that orange and see where the highlight is. It's like right here. So I'm going to take just a little bit of this orange. I'm going to actually add it right to my yellowy brownish color. Okay, and I'm going to actually put it right there. Okay, so if you like that, go ahead and do it. If you do not, all right, don't do it. Don't do it to it. Taking a little bit of brown now, and I think let's switch to a smaller brush here. Okay, so before I do that, let me go ahead and put this color in. All right, so what I would like to do is take this brush. I'm going to clean my medium brush, or at least clean it off and kind of put it in the water. And now I want to take a smaller brush. Okay, so your smaller brush is going to see these dark areas in here. Okay, we're going to use a smaller brush in order to put those in. And I'm going to take my brown. Okay, if your brown is dark enough already, just use it the way it is. If it's not dark enough, I am going to just add some. I'm adding a little bit of black to it. I added a little bit of orange to it, and yum, it looks like candy bar. Looks like fudge. Yay. Okay, so I'm gonna take this color. I'm gonna kind of clean off I have a lot of paint stuck to my brush. I'm gonna just clean off the brush a little bit. And now I want to go ahead and add this darker brown in here. Okay, again, underneath here, like so. so that we have a shadow where we want it to be. And take even a little bit more here. Ta-da, nice. Okay, I like it. All right, so now what I want to do is go ahead and begin now to separate these guys. Okay. Let's go ahead and put this in. All right, so where our guidelines were, now we're putting in this darker brown. Okay, and I'm following my guidelines here. If your guidelines are no longer with us, don't worry about it. Just drawing those guidelines actually got your brain ready. Okay, I'm actually going to do the tops as well. Okay, when your brush runs out of paint, just dip it in your paint and get some more. There we go. There we go. Okay, liking it, liking it. All right, so now we absolutely want to blend in the other sides here. So let's go ahead and do that. And I am going to dip back into my brown. Okay, so each of these little sections is getting some personalized attention here, and boy, do they love it. Ta-da! Okay, so let's go ahead and drag some of it in. And wherever you think you need more paint, you probably do. So go ahead and put it in. I am going to go into this dark brown that I made, which was a combination of brown, orange, and black. I'm going to go ahead and make these just a little bit more pronounced. Oh, that's all pink. There we go. Let's get it off of there. Okay, so kind of going back over these and get them a little bit darker. My students joke around with me. They tell me on my gravestone, they're gonna put the words "daka." Ta-da! Okay, I'm gonna take right behind here. I'm going to put. Okay, I'm gonna accentuate this line. So again, I'm still putting in my darker strokes in between here. Now, right where we created those sections, okay, we want to see a division. We want to see something there that tells us where one begins and the other one ends. Okay, is it starting to come alive for you? We certainly hope so. I have to say, looking at it, the camera actually kind of shows it backwards to me, even though it's the way that you're seeing it. Um, Seeing it that way actually helps. Okay. Let's see if we can get you in just a little closer so you can see my big head and not too much more here. Okay, so I'm going to come up and around. We're doing the same thing to these little guys that we did over here. What do you think? What do you think? All right, from what I see, this one might be a little bit too big. Let's get some color in here and drop this down just a little bit. Okay, remember that you are the creator. If you want them to be more or less, that is totally up to you. This guy, looking a little thin to me, but he's pretty thin in here as well. However, they have to take a little bit of artistic license here. Change him around just a little bit. Okay, so when I say change him around just a little bit, I have all this yellowy brownish color here, which is kind of a straw color. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of put some of it back in here. So actually blending with this color. Okay, and some of my brown lines are thicker than I want them to be. Some of them are a little bit thinner than I would like them to be. So this way, I can actually work with that a little bit and say, yeah, these kind of look okay, just the way they are over here. That's looking pretty awesome. This little guy in here could use a little bit of help. So let's give him a little help. Okay, so we have lights, we have darks in here. So, and always be sure to be looking at your handout. Okay, this one in here is a little bit more orangey. If you want to add some orange, you certainly can do that. Okay, I kind of am liking his, looks like a he to me for some reason, but I'm kind of liking his straw color here. But if you want it more orangey, make it more orangey. Again, the creator, however you want it to look, is how it should look. This brightens it up a little bit, actually. Not too shabby. Very nice, very nice. So when we think about, and I'm starting to think about highlights at this point, um, again, look at your handout and you will see that the highlight comes right around here, down here, okay? Let's add a little orange to these guys. And if you pull some of the brown in with it, so what? Okay. All right, let's go ahead and let's go, we have some of our dark remaining in here and some of it I kind of covered a little bit. I'm going to put some of it back in. Let's just accentuate that just a little bit so we can see it. We want these edges here to have a little bit of shadow going on. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull them out a little bit. So I'm pulling them out a little bit by using this dark brown in here and just kind of moving along those edges. And again, I'm not just painting up and down or anything like that. I'm following the direction of the Horn of Plenty. I often will see students, they'll take something like this, which has a really obvious direction, and they'll start doing this and this, and it's like, wait a minute, do it this way. Okay, so now let's see what you see. Ah, nice. I'm liking it. So this has a really earthy um, component to it here. So I'm going to blend it up here. Okay, I'm going to take, give us a little light in here. And I'm using my yellowy brown to do this. I don't want to obliterate all my orange. Just want to kind of drag it out here a little bit. So let's see. Let's bring this a teensy bit darker. Yeah, here. Okay. A little bit more here. This. All right. So once again, looking at where the highlights might be, I'm going to once again take my medium brush, which at this point is pretty ding dong dirty. I'm going to clean it. Oh, my paper towel supplier absolutely loves me. You can understand why. Okay. All right, so there's enough paint that's still wet on here. And then I can take my white, okay, which is here. Okay, I'm just tapping my brush here a little bit so that I don't have like a lot of white, but I actually want to be able to, once again, I'm going to come right around here like this, and I'll put some dots here so you can see the direction that this is going to go in. Okay, so I'm going to take my brush and pull it this way, this way, this way. When we get into these smaller areas, go a little bit slower. Take your time. Okay. Okay, pull out your edges here. Okay, and you can see a really cool highlight going on there. Okay, I'm going into my white because I want a little bit brighter highlight here. Okay, I'm also going to tip the tip of my brush into my white and pull out some light in through here as well. I'm going to switch to a little bit of a smaller brush here. I can find out what to do with it. This is a wonderful and amazing part of art. You know, you start out the blank canvas, which I have been doing art and teaching it actually for over like 40 years. I know you're thinking to yourself, now, gee, Joan, you do not look old enough for that. So, but I will tell you that I have been teaching. So the most amazing thing to me is, you know, even after teaching and being an artist for so long, I still, after a picture is finished, I'm like, wow, you know, that used to be a very blank canvas, and now there's a picture on there, which is totally awesome. You see, and you always do see part of the artist's personality when you're looking at something that they have done, because um, each person has something unique that they add to to the painting. Some people a little bit more heavy-handed with the colors. Some might be lighter. Some might be they maybe want to go a little bit darker. We won't mention any names. Okay, so I am going to round these out just a little bit on this side. And I'm using the yellow with the brown in it to do that. A little color down here. I'm very amateur video person, so I keep trying to find better ways to actually present these to you. So if you have any suggestions, by all means, do tell me. There's a number of ways to get in touch with me. I can always get in touch with me through the center, which is the Drake Council on Aging. You can contact me directly. I certainly do not mind at all. My email is Jonasa, Joan, as in Nancy, I, as in Stephen, A. And my phone number is 978-807-7608. So, and if I don't answer the phone, and chances are you will get my outgoing message machine, leave me a day and time when it's best to call you back. Okay, because most of the time I have stuff going on, and if I have a class or there's a student here, really try not to interrupt the class. I always look at the phone to make sure it's not my family or an emergency type of situation. But I'm very, very good about getting back to people. So don't be afraid to leave me a message and say, look, tomorrow at 10 is a really good time to call me back. Call me back, Johnny. So I absolutely will do that. If you have a question about the videos, oh, I liked this part. I wasn't crazy about that part. This part I really understood. That part I really didn't. Okay. So totally open to whatever you want to tell me, for sure. Okay. And just general comments. And sometimes people send me pictures of their artwork, which I think is totally, totally awesome. Oh, okay, that's good. But I dropped you. All right. So the next thing that we want to do is is our pumpkin. So for our pumpkin, we want orange and some of the more brilliant yellow. Now this is the yellow we use with a little bit of brown in it, and this is just plain yellow. So we want just the plain yellow, orange, sorry, orange, and we're going to put that in our pumpkin. Okay. So we want to give our pumpkin some really awesome color. There we go. Our pumpkin is getting awesome before our very eyes. Now, this pumpkin looks pretty, almost red. It's a vermilion, at least. No, it's actually, is it? Oh, it's vermilion. It's an orangey red color. Okay, I'm going to dip into my yellow, my bright yellow here, and I'm going to add that to this pumpkin. And we're going to brighten that baby right up. Okay, and again, we have that little bit of background in there. So if you can see through your guideline, see to your guidelines, that's awesome. If you can't, it's actually okay. Okay. And again, I'm going to say, follow your lines. Okay. Don't just go like this or like this. This pumpkin has some rounded features to it. Okay, so we want to follow those. We want to accentuate those babies. Ta-da! Now that, my darlings, is a pumpkin. Okay, I'm going to brighten her up. Oops, by putting my brush into the right kind of paint. This is so much fun. I'm looking at the camera here, and this actually is a little bit more orangey than you're seeing, so maybe I need to bring it out a little bit more here. However, this part is actually kind of doing the same thing here. So over here it's really vermilion. Okay, let's see if I actually hold it a little closer. You can see what's going on a little bit here. Okay. So is there is all this color underneath there. So get your we want to, but we could, you always have the option of priming with white first, but these colors are vibrant enough that you actually don't need to. Okay, so there's a lot of paint on the brush. Again, dipping into my white to get the highlights here, and the highlights are going here, 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 there. Okay, cleaning excess paint off the brush. Okay, gonna dip into the yellow a little bit, and actually drag the yellow a little bit through the highlights so that our pumpkin has highlights. Okay, so we're going to take some of this darker orange here and put it at the tops and the bottoms of our pumpkin. And we want to leave the highlight in the middle. Think of a smile. Okay, so the highlight's going to come like this. Okay, I'm going to need a little bit more orange out here. So let's get, that's a lot more orange, Joan. Hopefully, hopefully we'll need it for some other part of the picture. But I screwed up a whole big blob here. Okay, so top of our pumpkin, let's make it nice and orangey. I want to leave the highlight there. Now remember that the highlight went on with yellow. Put some more pumpkin-y stuff going on over here. Okay, I'm actually going to, I think, turn this upside down. Remember to keep your hand in its comfort zone. So I'm going to, and this is more comfortable for me. So I turned it upside down and I'm working in pieces here, working in pumpkin sections here. All right. So let me turn it back around for you. All right. See where the dark parts are and see where the highlights are. So I'm going to take my brush, off any excess paint, fix here a little bit, brush it out a little bit. And then again, I am going to go ahead and take this yellow and I just want to reinforce some of my highlights a little bit through here. There we go. There we have it. Okay, so maybe let's switch to a different brush. And this brush is completely dry, it doesn't have any paint on it. But I want to use it to just kind of blend my highlights in just a little bit more. It's not dry anymore, I just put some yellow on it. Okay, so I'm dipping into the yellow here and then just very lightly giving it a little sweep up. Can you still see? Sorry. Let me move that. Ta-da. Okay, so now that brush is going into the water, and I'm going to take a smaller brush, one of my smaller brushes. See here. Okay, so with the smaller brush, I'm going to go into this original kind of brownish, the brown we mixed in with this yellow here. I'm going to go into the brown a little bit. And I'm going to create some pumpkin sections in here. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just kind of defining the original lines that I put in there. Okay, top and bottom actually. All right, it's not going to work out if I hold it. All right, also I started to go ahead and do some of the stem work as well. And I'm actually using the same brown to do that. Okay, so a little bit there. And again, these sections, the pumpkin, let's get them in there. Okay, in your handout, they're much closer together, believe it or not. This type of a pumpkin is called a Cinderella pumpkin because it's the same pumpkin that Cinderella used uh, for her carriage. Her fairy godmother used a pumpkin for the carriage, and it's called a Cinderella pumpkin. The pumpkin in your handout, okay, where they're a little bit closer together, is actually called a spice pumpkin. So either one is okay. I just think it's a little bit easier if we in fact do one that has less sections in it. A little bit easier to paint. Okay, I'm also going to kind of do around this edge a little bit so that we have a little bit of a shadow going on here. Okay, so you can see that there are sections to my pumpkin here. I'm going to take a little bit of water and just kind of drag some of the paint at the top of the pumpkin here. And all that really is going to do is I'm bringing some of the dark into the top of the pumpkin, right? So that gives us the impression, gives us the 3D impression, so that the pumpkin does not look flat on our surface. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Can you see that? Okay, watch. All right, so that gives us the shadow at the bottom of the pumpkin. So I'm going to do that around this bottom. And my pumpkin is looking marvelous. I am going to take a brush. I have like a zillion dirty brushes here. All right, so this one, I want it really, 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 really dry, okay? Because I want to pull on this a little bit. So while the paint is wet a little bit, I can kind of pull on it. See, my dry brush now has paint on it, which is okay. I'm going to dip a little bit into my orange and mix it. I'm going to take this orange, I'm going to put it over here, and take some brown and mix it in there. Can you see that luscious color right there? Okay, it is a combination of orange and brown. And it's going to make an awesome, good color down here. Ooh, beautiful. Look at the richness of that pumpkin color. Now, you are talking, baby. Let's do some more at the top. Just kind of dragging that down a little bit. And I tell you, this is giving my pumpkin pizzazz. This is giving my pumpkin pizzazz here. I, I like the color so much, I'm dragging it everywhere. Okay, that's an awesomely good pumpkin. Let's sit for a little bit. I think we can move on. We're going to come back to that pumpkin and kind of blend some more of the yellows and oranges in there. But I am thinking, let's go ahead and do some of these ferns in here, or wheat. Not really sure what we call them, but I am going to use this brown and yellow in through here, and I'm going to use just the, I'm going to hold the brush like this, right? Not necessarily the side of the brush. I'm going to come right up here and cover my guidelines. At least I thought I was going to. So let's do it again. Ready? Covering, sort of covering, and covering. All right, so now I have three kind of bushy areas there. This brush is going to go into the water, and this brush, the small, that small, maybe not. Okay, I'm going to take a smaller brush, and I think I have brushes all over the place here. And if I look at these, they're kind of white. They have a little bit of a tinge to them. But let's put the white on them first and see what happens. Okay, so I'm dipping into my white with this little brush, and I'm going to go ahead and make these little things. All right, and let the brush kind of run out of paint, because that's what gives you that kind of nice effect in there. Okay, so I want the stem at the bottom, but I'm going to go ahead, put these in. Okay, and this one actually goes right off the side. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing to the other two, and that again means dipping into my white. Okay, leave a little bit of stem work at the bottom, and then just flipping up. Okay, and then I'm dragging the paint that's already on there, the other side, and it's actually dragging some of the brown in with it, which is absolutely okay. That's what we want. All right, and it does come in front. It does come in front of our Horn of Plenty. So let it. And this is what makes things look 3D. Okay, when you have some things in front of other things. Okay, so because it's overlapping our Horn of Plenty, it makes us know that this is in front of the horn, these pieces. I bring this all the way down, I think. All right, so now, while that is still somewhat wet, see how we have this coming off the stem, we have these little areas. So again, make sure that you kind of have your hand out nearby, especially because we don't get really a lot of up close and personal work here with this particular recording. So you might need, sometimes you might want to refer to that. So I am actually going to keep almost dipping into my peach tea. Maybe I should move that. Okay, so I'm going to take this color, which is a little bit of brown here, a little bit of orange, and maybe I want darker. Let's see what this baby looks like. Oh, that's beauteous, beauteous. Okay, so it actually comes up through the center of these vines and in between them. Okay, so let's see if I can get a little bit more up close for you. So these come up and around here like this. Okay, can you see some of where that's going there? Okay. Very cool. Just kind of stroking. Same thing here. Both sides. Nice. Going to go ahead and add a little of this yellowy brown color here. I think it looks awesome. Can you see that? So again, a little bit of intricacy with this picture, but nothing that's difficult, mostly just time consuming. Okay, and I'm not sure how much I can actually see, but you see how some of that's coming along. Want this piece kind of going down the middle, and let's try using the same brush that we used to put the white on to feather some of this out. Because I'm thinking that looks mighty awesome. And again, switching back and forth between the dark brown and this kind of mustard yellow color. Making our wheat. Okay, we're going to go to the darker a little bit and do this one same way I did the other two. Okay, let's see here. This is amazing fun. People those wheat stalks. Yeah. Kind of liking them. I'm going to dip into my white without cleaning off this brush and just kind of brush through these again. Now that I have all the dark around them, they're really looking cool. Huh. And looking like the color of wheat. Okay, I'm thinking that looks awesome. Stop right there with these. Okay, liking it, liking it. All right, well, we're still giving this guy a little time to dry. Let's just put in a little leaf over here, and you'll be amazed at how easy it is to do a leaf. Okay, I'm going to do a vein part, and then just one of these. So I did a main vein, right? And now I'm just going to connect these guys. Now I have a little leaf right here. Okay, gonna take a little bit of orange, clean her off a bit, connect. Okay, so the leaves, you're gonna find that the leaves are extremely easy to do. They're not difficult at all. As a matter of fact, nothing on this picture really is difficult. Take your time. Slow down the recording if you need to. Okay, so here's a little leaf over in the corner here. I'm going to add a little bit of light to my stem work. Okay, which is a combination of browns and oranges, and we're going to actually put a little bit of white in here. Totally want it to have a little bit of highlight going on. Okay, and even though it doesn't necessarily show any green going on in the handout, I like to have a little brownish green paint always dries on these. Okay, so a little bit of green over on the side there, and I'm going to need a little bit more of my brown, which is pretty dry. Let's use this brown. Mucho better. So this, I'll show you close up what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm just kind of meeting my sections. This again gives it a kind of it not only gives it a connected look, we definitely get a 3D type of a look here. Okay. Right. So let's pick up a little bit more brown in here, because I would like to have a little bit more brown going on. Okay, let's see here. Let's see what happens. This is a much better color. It's kind of a very greenish, brownish color. I'm going to take my smaller brush and get a little bit of coverage down here. So I have a few white spots showing up here and there because of my my guidelines, which I made with white paint. So let's go ahead and fix those. Ta-da! Okay, now while we were doing that, we let our pumpkin dry out just a little bit more because I wanted to be a little more heavy-handed with the highlight part of it. As you can see, my pumpkin is much more vivid than what the picture is showing. And that's done on purpose, okay, because I like really vivid work. Let me get rid of this, kind of stuck on here. Now you know I have paint all over my table. That's okay. We don't mind. All right, so now my painting had so many layers of paint on it that it was difficult to get the yellow to stay on there. But it is quite dry enough now for me to do that. So I'm going to add a little bit more highlight here. Okay, and again, think smile here. Okay, think smile when you're trying to decide on how to highlight something that's this kind of round. Okay. I love this rich color that's up here. Okay, now I think that looks totally awesome. So I think, what should we do next? Okay, we have some leaves that are going around our stem and in front of our little wheat. So let's go ahead and make some guidelines. And we're going to make the guidelines with yellow paint. Okay? Guidelines with yellow paint. So once again, these are just kind of teardrop shapes, and you're going to find, like I say, that leaves are really, really, really easy to do. So there's one that kind of comes here, and they do not have to be exact. You can put them wherever your heart desires. I'm going to put one here. I want it sort of behind here like this and like this. So my leaf, almost like a teardrop shape, is right here. Can you see it right there? Okay. Now let's take a smaller brush and I'm going to dip it in the yellow. Let's put a little bit of white in here just to kind of prime it. Because at this point, we really have lots and lots of paint on our canvas. So let's go ahead and put that there. Okay, so another one, and this time I'm going to dip into the white. I'm going to put over here. Okay, so again, you're just kind of putting a midline, if you will, or a mid vein. Don't worry if you actually end up touching your pumpkin stem. I think we can fix that easy enough. Okay, so I'm actually going to put a little bit of light in the sky too, I think. So I can really, really see those leaves. Okay, and I think we could use one coming right up here. And remember, I told you that I didn't want to leave any kind of dead space in here. So this leaf is going to be kind of big. Okay. So don't be afraid to experiment a little bit using yellow and white only because it's really the paint underneath there is on the dark side. So instead of waiting for the paint to dry and then adding a number of coats, let's go ahead and prime it with the white, and then we'll be able to get them in the way we would like them. Okay, so let's let this dry out a little bit. And let's go ahead and put in our zucchini. Okay, our zucchini, we're going to do the same thing for our zucchini. We're going to take our green and we're going to mix it with some white here. And we're going to draw in our zucchini. Okay, so zucchini. Let's make it kind of round at the top. Yeah, comes out like this. Comes around here, like this, kind of down here. Okay. So again, we're just kind of priming our canvas with zucchini. Okay. I'm not going to go any further than this with this zucchini because in front of it we have more leaves. So I'm going to go back to the yellow and put a leaf in this way. And this leaf is behind our pumpkin. So we do want to be mindful of pumpkin lines. Okay, so this one is doing this, coming down this way. So again, we're just kind of priming, okay? And these leaves in here actually are a different shape than the way I made them. They're kind of this way instead. So if you want to, go ahead and change them. Feel free to go ahead and change them. Or you can leave them like oak leaves. Okay, so we have a leaf coming this way. And for right now, we really, all you really need is the basic shapes because then we'll go ahead and we'll put the veins in afterwards. Okay, so again, these guys, let's put them in using the yellow with the brown in it. And as you can see, we're really starting to fill this space a little bit. Okay, with all these cool leaves going on here. Do want another one going here. Okay. So we're starting to actually see some shape in these leaves, okay, which, like I said, are basically just teardrop shapes with some points on them. And we will perfect those points eventually. But we want to let them dry out just a little bit more. Okay, and at this point, we really want to start to fill up our Horn of Plenty. Okay, so these are drying out just a little bit. Let's go ahead and put in some of our grapes. Now we are going to have leaves and whatnot over our grapes. So if we want to, we could put an indication of where those leaves are going, which might be not a bad idea. Okay, so we have this leaf here, which we already have the shape for. We have another guy going this way. Okay, so again, these are just guidelines, all right, so don't panic. Okay, so we have guidelines here. All right, and then we'll maybe have another one there, but let's go ahead and put in the grapes. Okay, and remember I told you that to make a purple color, you could use red and blue. You could actually use purple paints. Let me see what I have out here. Do you have purple paint out here? Okay, so remember what I told you. You start with the basics here, which is the pumpkin and the horn of plenty. And then the rest is actually just a matter of deciding where you want things. And again, you do not need to follow exactly the handout, but you do need the handout. It's good to have it close by because, you know, even though I want it more vivid than this, I'm still using it for placement. Okay, so I'm going to just dip into some purple here. And again, you may want to mix your own colors. Right, so I'm actually just, and again, we are just totally using this to kind of prime a little bit. Now, maybe I do want it in a little bit more white. I was thinking that I could prime with just the purple. However, I'm going to change my mind now. Give myself a little bit more white to play with. Okay, I'm going to close up my white. All right, so, and this is actually going to prime as well. Okay, because we'll add more to these. We'll actually make them more purpley. Um, but just like I say, for the sake of placement, let's put some behind here, like this. Remember, these can come all the way over here. And they actually are in front of the side of our Horn of Plenty as well. Okay, so this is through the leaf. It's absolutely okay to overlap your grapes. Let's put some over here because I know this. Oh, there is. There's grapes down here. And if you really like grapes and you want more grapes there, absolutely, my darlings, put your grapes there. Okay, I want kind of a big one here, here. I'd like some more overlapping a little bit. Okay, now these are more grapes than you can actually see, but again, they're um, they're behind. They're behind some of the leaf work, so let that be okay. And actually, you want to put more grapes in than even I am, put more grapes in. You want less, do less. Okay, so there is going to be a leaf, a yellow leaf and a green leaf here. So I'm going to go ahead and clean off my brush using just the white. I am going to prime here like this and do this leaf like this. Okay, I kind of maintain that teardrop shape here. Okay, so I'm going to make sure this leaf is in front of these grapes. And there's another one that comes out this way, right? And it's coming. Okay, we have one here that's kind of doing this, which is kind of cool also. Okay, and that's behind the pumpkin. So we have one there, and then they have a third one that's doing this, which is, it's a nice arrangement of the leaves. So let's go ahead and do that too. Okay, so it's wider at the base and coming out here, and it is definitely in front of our grapes. So we have more leaves there. So it looks like a grape leaf. No, I'm kidding. All right, let's do this. I say that because it's primed it with purple paint. Okay, so we have some cool leaves going on there. We also have a green leaf coming up this way, and it's going up over this leaf. And it's actually, and then you put some green paint in it just to remind us that this is going to be a green leaf. So it's going to do this. And this one is it's a maple leaf. So we're going to do the veins in here a little bit and then just kind of connect them. Okay, and this one comes in front of here. Okay, so again, just kind of doing it green so that I can remind myself that this one is going to be a green leaf, right? So again, we're just giving ourselves guidelines here. So all this light that you see in here is going to have color in it. Okay. We want to take our red now. Okay. This is brilliant red. Okay. And I'm going to use it to put in our grapes. Now, the grapes, okay, are in front of our pumpkin and they're in front of the green leaf. So, but they're behind an apple. All right, so I actually am going to, again, just prime. All right, so I'm going to use white and red. So it's going to come, the grapes are going to come out kind of pink, but I'm just using the red so that I can remember that these are going to be red grapes. Okay, another one here. Prime with the white a little bit more. Okay, and I want this to come in front of my pumpkin. As a matter of fact, these come way down here, don't they? So there's a lot of these guys hanging around. So I'm going to kind of make the shape of, I'm looking for this shape here and here of where these are going to go, these red grapes. They're kind of reddish purplish actually. So I want this one here. I'm going to put this over here, here, here. My background grapes are actually all going to be darker. But again, right now I'm just looking for placement. I want to know that, I want to know where my grapes are going. And we're going to do a little bit of overlap here so our grapes don't look like they're floating in air. Okay, let's put one over here, put one over here, one in front. Okay, I want to start coming out this way a little bit because again, I'm kind of looking for a basic shape here, a shape of where my grapes are going to go. So let's do this. This, I have done this piece before, but in pencil. Haven't done it in acrylics before. So, I have to say this is a great exercise for everyone, myself included, and it's a lot of fun here. It's great to see what's going on. We like it. So I have a basic shape here. Okay, it looks like there aren't any spaces in these bottom grapes. So those bottom grapes are going to be darker red when we finally do get some color on them. Right? At this point, I'm thinking let's put the pear in. The pear is right here next to our green grapes, and it's a green pear. So oh, there's a leaf behind it. Let's put the leaf in first. So I'm going to clean off that and go back to my yellow and white. And right off the side here, there is a leaf, and it is another maple leaf. Okay, but this maple leaf is yellow. I want it to come up to here. Okay, so again, I'm going to bring up this middle vine, and I'm going to put in these veins here, like so. Okay, and then I want to just kind of connect them a little bit. Okay, and again, just priming. And I'm priming them with yellow because it's just to remind myself of the color scheme that I'm using. Okay. All right, so this is a maple leaf. It's kind of a goldy color maple leaf. But again, we're just kind of priming with the white. And now I can go ahead and put in my pear. Okay, so the pear, I'm going to move it slightly over this way. Now a pear, believe it or not, is an easy thing to do. It is two shapes. It is a circle and a triangle. All right. And then you take your circle and triangle and perfect those shapes. Now I wanted to overlap my leaf a little bit. I also wanted to overlap my grapes. So that's another good reason to just kind of prime them first. Okay, so this is my grape, my pear. Right? And I did the pear green because it's going to be a greenish yellow pear. right, so we want that shape in there. Okay, so it's just a basic shape. Everything that you see is one of the basic shapes or a variation on that basic shape. So again, this is just a circle and a triangle circles. These are ovals. This is a circle, obviously. This was a circle here, and then we kind of have these tubular bent tubes, which is a variation on the circle, certainly. It's an oval. So just kind of playing around with this a little bit, which is kind of neat. Okay, so that is going there. We have this yellow going on over there. I really, really want to stop playing with this. But I'm going to wait. I'm going to be patient, which, like most people, not totally known for my patience, but that's okay. I can handle it. All right, so apple. Let's put in our apple. Apple is right somewhere. Let's see. Apple, we're going to put the nuts down there. So let's put our apple here. So our apple is going to come out a little bit from our pear. And it does go over. It's in front of our grapes. Okay, so the apple, of course, is a variation on the circle. Okay, again, when you're looking at a piece and you're like, oh, gee, I don't even know where to start this piece. Start looking for basic shapes. So with this, again, the pumpkin with the basic shape of a circle, obviously the apple, the pear, a combination of two shapes. So let's put our apple in. And again, for just kind of priming here, I'm using the red with the white, which is kind of giving me a pink apple. But again, it's actually just to kind of go with my color scheme. I have a lot of pink strokes here, so I'm just brushing them out with a bigger brush. Because right now, I'm just kind of painting on shapes. Okay, so here's my apple. And when this apple is finished, you will want to take a bite out of it. Okay? Because we are going to put in all kinds of shading and highlights in these guys. Okay, so here we're going to put in another. Um, there's going to be a little bit of a stem here, certainly, but I think we need another leaf, like right about here. And this one, let's make this the teardrop shape leaves are a little bit easier to kind of play with. So let's put that there. And the reason that I did that is my apple is in a slightly different position than the one in the picture, which no matter what you're using for a source, it seems to, unless you do a portrait, it really needs to be exact. Um, Typically, they come out a little bit different, which is okay. So what my point was, before I sidetracked myself, is that do what's best for your composition, regardless of what's going on in your handout. Um, the other thing is don't be afraid to take artistic license. I have a student who is everything absolutely perfect. He wants to copy everything. He was doing a little bit of a house portrait, and there was a telephone line going through the picture, and he decided to put that in there. And I said, please don't. I said, do you think that the picture looks better with or without it? He said, oh, definitely without it. And I said, I think so too. I said, so it'd be okay, he said, to not put it in? I said, absolutely, it would be okay. So he did not put it in. And happily ever after. Okay, so I'm looking here at this empty space that I created. So I am going to put uh, more grapes back there. Okay? And I do want them behind what's already there. So, I mean, we could put red grapes there. We could put orange grapes. No, I didn't mean that. It's getting late, folks. So, cut me a little slack. Not much, just a little. Okay, so I'm going to put some grapes in here, like this. Okay, and that will kind of fill that space. Down here, go with red grapes to fill in some of that space going on over here. We'll do red, so we know we wanted to make that part red, right? So this horn of plenty is absolutely plentiful, right? There are some acorns in here, and I don't know about you, but I love painting for acorns. So they are going to go right here. And when I look at the shape of them, they are cylinder shapes with a little bit of a point there. And then there's another one going this way, like this, and there's a little bit of a point. So again, just kind of actually just priming. Okay, so they both have little caps on them, so you can make an indication of where those little caps are going to go, and then we'll perfect them when the time comes, which is going to be in part 2 of this tutorial, because we're going to it's a long project, but definitely and it's a little bit more involved, I guess, than than we're used to. We have had other tutorials that were in 2 parts, but this one has a lot of detail that's still going to go on here. So I mean, we could do it all in one, or we could actually do it in 2, which I think is probably the better way to go here. Right, so let's put in a little bit more here. I'm going to straighten this one out a little bit. Okay, so they're actually circles with points on them. All right, and then they have their stems. But again, we're going to finish those in part 2 when we start working with all of the priming that we've done. And I think pretty much every single brush that I have needs to be cleaned. That'd be another good reason. That's my stem. Okay, I want to do another leaf here, and this one is kind of going down, but I don't see any. I don't see any reason to put it down like that. I think that actually it would be really cool, and one of the reasons is to kind of keep a flat edge here for the picture, but I think that we can do that actually. Just we can make the leaf just kind of go right off our canvas if we want. If we want to, and I believe we will do that. Let's do it. Okay. So this leaf looks like it's going to be yellow. We could change our mind and make it a different color in part 2. But for right now, we just kind of need to know that there's a leaf there, that there's a leaf that's going to be there. Okay, so this leaf is behind our apple. Okay, so this is the stem here. This comes like this. And we're going to bring it right off the side of our canvas. Okay, so basically looking for shape here. Okay, I want it to come like this and like this. And there's other reasons for making your pictures unique. As I've told you, um, these pictures actually have been. I have looked online for some really cool subject matter for us to work with, and absolutely have found it. And actually, these are someone else's artwork that we're practicing with. So I'm sure that no one's going to mass produce them and make a zillion dollar profit on these. But with any piece of artwork, if you have at least three unique qualities to the artwork, then it becomes a unique piece, okay, which is kind of cool. So making changes to it is a-okay. Okay, so I'm just, before we end part one here, I'm just looking to refine a few of my shapes in here. And the other thing that I would like to do is put a little bit of highlight on this guy, especially at the top here. Ta-da! Okay, and one more thing over here. I'm not liking this empty space here because we really don't have an empty space here. This leaf, I'm going to end up playing with it again. All right, that's okay. That's okay. I'll put it right over here. All right. So I'm not liking this space over here. Over here, they just kind of put some green color in the background. We certainly can do that. Or we could put more grapes there, which feels like a good idea to me. There's green here, purple here. We could put some red. We could put more red grapes here. I think I would like that better than just kind of filling that space with some color. So let's go ahead and just put some. I'm gonna go with. So I'm gonna go with red. Um, you could go with green grapes. Yay! Okay, I like that idea. Let's do green grapes. Okay, and they're going to go behind um, our leaf, and they're going to go behind our apples, apple and leaves. Okay, so we have some green grapes here. And even though we're just priming the grapes in the back, are actually going to be darker. But I just want to know where they're going. And we'll actually can put some stems in there too. That would be awesome, baby. All right. So before we end for this part one, I want to take just a little bit of this color and then this darker brown color in here. And if you don't have a dark enough color, create on, all right, by using some black. I actually think I'll put some of this in there too, because this looks awesome. Woo. Okay, and some of this. All right, so I have a kind of, I'm looking for a kind of a dark color here so that I can give my picture a base where everything is kind of sitting. So a lot of times what I see artists do, or students, I shouldn't say artists, students can be artists, but because they're still learning, a lot of times they do not um, do a foreground like this. And my reason for a foreground, and it's a good way to do it, is before we put in all the work for the grapes and so on and so forth, is to give the subject matter something to sit on. Okay. Other than that, I always get the sensation that things are floating in space. We don't ground them. Right? So I'm actually going to dip into just the black here a little bit and give us even a little bit more um, darkness here. Okay, let's do that. This paint may be sitting out here a little longer than we wanted it to. So if that's the case, if your paint is dry, go ahead and put out some fresher paint. All right. Okay, so by giving this a darker place to sit here, again, we're just really kind of grounding. I'm going to pick up some of the lighter paints for down here because I still want to kind of have a graduated look, but I definitely want it to be darker up here. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit smaller brush and I'm going to take this dark brownish blackish color in here. I'm actually going to work right along the edge of this pumpkin. And around the bottom of this grape. And this one too. And that grape. These little guys. So what I'm doing is the little fine points and whatnot on these foreground pieces, the grapes and the bottom of the pumpkin. Okay, I don't want to use my big brush and change the shapes of the bottoms of those things. So I'm taking my a smaller brush, guiding my hand, supporting one hand with the other hand. Okay, so I'm going to hold this up close to the camera. So hopefully you can get a really good idea of what's going on down here. So we have the dark here, and then we go back to the light, and I came in really close on the bottom of the pumpkin to make sure that I didn't lose my pumpkin shape. Okay, let us conclude part one. Um, we do have another fern thing going up here, which you can barely see it here because the colors as vivid as we have them, but trust me, you will see it when we do it. Okay, let's conclude part one here, and then tomorrow, um, I think, because it's a little bit late. It is. God love me. All right. It's 12:30 in the morning. I was gonna say in the evening. It's actually 12:30 in the morning. And and I'm really, really excited about how this is coming out. So I do not want to rush it at all. And and I want to get all the detailing. But again, you know, if you don't go ahead of me, is kind of what I'm getting at, because I will do part two and we'll release it with part one. So you can go right into part two, even though I haven't quite done it yet. I will. I will. I promise. Okay. So let us say this is a good start, part one. And part two, we will actually be putting in all the details. And you're going to be able to see vines and veins and background grapes and foreground grapes. And like I said, this is rather exciting. Okay, so I know it's a long tutorial, but that's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it. So once again, thank you, Bethany at the Drake Council on Aging. And she, if you say, thank you, Bethany, you do it right. It takes a team. It takes a team. And she's right. There are a lot of people there who give well above and beyond what they're asked to do. Okay. We want to thank Ron at DATV who puts these out for us. Tara at BATV who actually does some editing on them for me, which is kind of cool. And um, and GHAA, which is sharing them on their site. So I want to make sure that we thank the Drake Council, Cultural Council, and Friends of Drake Elderly because they're making all of this possible, and and they're willing to share. Okay, so can't ask for better than that. We have an awesome group of people working for you. Okay, so thank you. Create an awesome day because you know you can. And as always, be legendary, my friends. Okay, I will see you in part two. Pas deux.